Away to a music festival, a group of young people found themselves stuck in a massive traffic jam. Fortunately, Kevin, the driver, was an experienced road veteran and knew of a small trail through the forest that could help them avoid the congestion. He quickly swerved the car, and the group headed into the dense woods. The trail was quiet and isolated, just as Kevin had hoped. The couple in the back seat began to get cozy, with Ash even giving Kevin a playful kiss as a thank you. Suddenly, a figure appeared ahead of them. Kevin didn't react in time, and the car slammed straight into the figure. Ash and Kevin rushed out of the car to check, but they couldn't find anyone. They explained the situation to Ty, who had also gotten out of the car, but he clearly didn't believe them. Because of the crash, the two women in the back were injured, with Lindsay suffering a broken leg. Ash tried to make a phone call for help, but there was no signal, and the car wouldn't start. After some discussion, they decided to continue on foot to the music festival to get help. Destiny stayed behind to look after Lindsay, while the other three set off on foot, hoping to reach the festival and call for rescue. However, not long after they left, the figure that had been knocked over by the car suddenly got back up. Meanwhile, back in the car, Lindsay was live streaming, pretending to be pitiful as she'd begged for gifts from her brothers. Outside the car, Destiny spotted the zombie. At first, she waved excitedly, but when she saw the zombie's grotesque face up close, she quickly ran back into the car, terrified. The two of them thought they'd be safe inside the car, but they seriously underestimated how hungry the zombie was. On the other side, Kevin and his group finally made it to the music festival, but something felt off. The people there seemed strange, almost like zombies themselves, moving around like lifeless shells. In search of medical help, they walked into a room marked with a red cross. But as soon as they stepped inside, they realized the place was a mess, with bloodstains on the floor. A sense of dread filled the air. After searching every room, they finally found a woman cowering in the corner, shaking with fear. However, she seemed to be in a state of shock and couldn't respond to any of their questions. Things were clearly off. Kevin, not wanting to get involved, pulled Ash away from the cabin. But just as the three of them were leaving, a zombie silently emerged from the shadows. As Kevin and Ash stepped outside, they saw their friend Ty, who excitedly told them that his phone had suddenly gotten the signal and he had already called an ambulance. Then, Ty urged the others to head to the music festival site and enjoy the event since they were already there. Their original plan had been to go to the festival anyway, and since they had called for help, Kevin and Ash felt relieved and excited. They happily agreed to Ty's suggestion. What they didn't know was that Ty never actually made the call. Meanwhile, Ash's younger sister Iris, along with her two brothers, was also on her way to meet up with them, bringing along a car full of vegetables and fruits. They hadn't encountered any traffic, but the main road ahead was blocked. Fortunately, they spotted a sign pointing to a small path that led straight to the festival site. Without hesitation, Iris took the turn onto the same narrow road Ash and the others had taken earlier. However, it wasn't long before Iris spotted the car from Kevin's crash. They hurriedly got out to check, only to find the seats inside covered in blood, but no sign of anyone. Iris assumed her sister must have been in some kind of danger, but the fact that no one was in the car seemed like a good sign. So, she quickly started the car, determined to head to the music festival. But, just as they were driving off, they ran into a familiar face, Destiny, who had stayed behind to watch the car. Iris rushed to check on her, but Destiny's eyes were vacant, her gaze lifeless. It was clear she had been deeply traumatized, and she kept mumbling that the zombies had eaten Lindsay. Iris didn't understand exactly what Destiny was saying, but she could tell that Destiny was in no condition to be left alone. So, without hesitation, Iris helped her into the car and decided to continue their journey to the music festival together. But just as they were about to drive off, the car suddenly stalled. The gas tank had run dry, and they couldn't get the car to start. With no other option, they had no choice but to continue on foot. Meanwhile, back at the music festival, things were getting out of control. The crowd was swept up in a wild frenzy, dancing to the music of the headliner, completely unaware that disaster was fast approaching. Ash was the first to notice something was wrong. As a woman was ripped apart by a zombie, more and more people were knocked down. The entire crowd quickly descended into chaos. The performers on stage sensed the disturbance, but it was already too late. The zombies had made their way up to the stage. The hip-hop artists, who were just moments ago having fun on stage, were quickly turned into dinner for the zombies. In the confusion, Ty, Kevin, and Ash got separated. Some tried to by car, but in the midst of the zombie onslaught, every car that hadn't started yet was torn apart. At that moment, a female zombie took notice of Ash. the zombie lunged at her, grabbing her thigh, and was about to sink its teeth into her when, bang, a gunshot rang out. It was Iris, who had arrived just in time. Meanwhile, Kevin and Ty had managed to escape into the nearby woods. Ahead of them, a man was being devoured by zombies. Yet despite the chaos, he hadn't forgotten to keep live streaming, still shouting, "God help," as he was torn apart. The two of them carefully avoided the zombies surrounding them, and that's when they spotted a police car with a handgun lying on the back seat. They knew that with a gun in hand, they could stay calm. They planned to quietly grab the weapon, but there was a zombie nearby, still gnawing on something. Kevin, too scared to approach, hesitated, but Ty finally took the plunge. Before the zombie could charge, Ty grabbed the gun and shot it dead. However, the gunshot alerted the surrounding zombies. The creatures began to close in on the two men. Back on the other side, Ash and Iris managed to break free from the horde and reunite with Destiny and the others. Ash saw Luke among the group, and she was furious, causing Iris to scream in frustration. But this wasn't the time for arguments. The zombies, drawn by the noise, were now charging toward them. The group, including Blaze in his wheelchair, had no choice but to flee for their lives. They intended to take refuge in the medical room, but it seemed to already be occupied. Just as Ash screamed for help, the door opened, and to their surprise, it was Ty and Kevin who had made it inside. After taking down the few zombies at the front, the group managed to get into the room. But before they could even catch their breath, they heard loud banging noises coming from the bathroom. Kevin carefully opened the bathroom door, and a zombie suddenly lunged at them. Although they worked together to bring it down, more zombies burst through the windows, forcing the group to fight their way backward. They eventually retreated into the innermost lounge, but the trouble wasn't over. Luke suddenly collapsed on the floor, gasping for air. Ty, assuming that Luke had been bitten, pulled out his gun and was about to shoot him. Ash quickly intervened, explaining that Luke wasn't bitten. He was just having a diabetic episode. With zombies still outside the door and Luke in this condition, Kevin suggested they abandon him. This angered Ash, who refused to leave Luke behind. There was no more time to wait. They needed to get Luke insulin right away. Iris recalled seeing an ambulance on their way here, and she figured there might be insulin inside. Upon hearing this, Ash immediately crawled out the window, ready to team up with Iris and search for the medication. At that moment, no one noticed that Destiny's body suddenly twitched a few times. While Ash and Iris carefully maneuvered around the zombie horde, something unexpected happened inside the room. It turned out that Destiny had already been bitten, and now a full-fledged zombie. She lunged at Kevin. Ty quickly grabbed his gun, intending to shoot Destiny, but the tense situation caused Kevin to struggle so much that all of Ty's bullets hit Kevin instead. Panicked, Ty fled the room. Meanwhile, Ash and Iris had found the ambulance by the roadside, but a few zombies were gathered around it. Time was running out, so Iris bravely went ahead to draw the zombies away. With this brief opening, Ash carefully raised her gun and approached the ambulance. Luckily, they managed to find the insulin inside. Ty, now being chased by a swarm of zombies, saw a deep pit ahead. Without hesitation, he jumped in. To his surprise, he discovered a glowing meteorite deep within the pit. Even more astonishing, the zombies seemed too afraid to approach it. Could this meteorite be the source of the terrifying virus? Meanwhile, Ash, who had just retrieved the medicine, was on her way to the medical room when she ran into Blaze, who was carrying the unconscious Luke. Before Ash could even express her relief, a zombie suddenly charged at them. The siblings quickly fired their guns, killing the zombie. As it fell, a car key fell out of its pocket. Ash was overjoyed and, along with her two brothers, found a safe spot. After injecting Luke with insulin, he finally woke up from his unconscious state. Ash was about to lead them to the parking lot when, out of nowhere, Ty appeared from the shadows, holding a gun and taking Luke hostage. Ty had overheard Ash's plan to escape by car, so he threatened her, demanding that she cover for him as he made his getaway. With Luke in his grip, Ash had no choice but to comply. As she cleared the zombies attacking them, she dragged Ty along, trying to cover their retreat. But there were just too many zombies. Though Ty and her two brothers managed to break through the horde, Ash was left surrounded by the undead. At this point, Ash was running low on ammo, and escaping the zombie horde seemed nearly impossible. Meanwhile, Iris was all trapped, surrounded by zombies on the stage. Fortunately, there were several barrels of gasoline near her feet. She set the gasoline on fire and began climbing up a statue using a ladder. The flames blazed fiercely, but they couldn't slow the zombies down. They kept closing in on her. Just as Iris was about to lose hope, A few gunshots rang out. There was Ash, who had spotted the fire and arrived just in time. After shooting down several zombies, Iris finally had enough space to jump down. With their combined efforts, the sisters fought their way through the horde and eventually found shelter under the stage. By the next day, the music venue was in ruins. Ty and the others had made it to the parking lot. As they were about to drive away, they saw a familiar figure, Lindsay, who had been injured earlier. Luke, in his naivety, called out to her, not realizing she had already turned into a zombie. The zombies charged at them ferociously, with the immobile Blaze becoming their primary target. Seeing this, Ty didn't offer any help and jumped into the car with Luke. Luke was shocked that Ty would abandon his brother, but Ty felt it was only natural. He wasn't going to risk his life to save someone else. Little did he know, Luke was staring at the nearby handgun, lost in thought. Just as Blaze was about to be bitten by the zombies, the gunshot rang out from behind them. It was Ash and Iris, who had arrived just in time. However, the gunfire had attracted a large group of zombies, and their ammo was running low. The sisters had no choice but to fight the zombies hand-to-hand. But as more and more zombies closed in, they soon began to feel their strength wane. Blaze, knowing he couldn't escape, made the decision to stay behind and sacrifice himself. He poured all the gasoline over himself and, as the zombies got closer, he quickly lit a match and set himself on fire. The zombies that came toward him were quickly engulfed in flames. Ash fought back tears as she pulled Iris away, trying to escape. Just then, a car appeared behind them. It was Luke, who had come back. The two quickly jumped into the car. It turns out, Luke had taken advantage of Ty's moment of inattention, shooting him before returning to rescue the sisters. One thing's for sure, the Ash family were all tough survivors. In the end, the three of them drove out of the town. But just as they thought they were safe, the radio crackled to life, announcing that the zombie virus had spread across the country and the military had dropped bombs on their location.